all over the internet, I'm seeing people talk about the YNs. The YNs this, the YNs that. The YNs ain't happening. The YNs are gonna turn up, you know, talking about all the characteristics of these YNs and, you know, uh, how you don't want to go to certain spots because the YNs are gonna show up in whatever. And, you know, that to me, I just find it interesting. And I also find it interesting to see how many, women are, constantly uh, talking about the YNs this and the YNs that. And I think it's, they're kind of like obsessed with it. And we're creating a thing now about the YNs, and you know, um, I think they're creating like uh, I guess you could say a fetish. I feel like a younger dude, and you're walking around, and you got some dreads, and you're wearing a tech fleece with a poo shiesty. They're gonna be some women wondering what's going on with that. What's good? Are you on the YN type of time? They want to know. So uh, that seems to be what I'm taking from it. Uh, from all this YN this and YN that, and also, um, to me, this is like an evolution of uh, the worship of street culture in the black community. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always been what do you call it, like a glamorization of street culture and street dudes, street niggas, in black culture. But now, since Chicago, drill style music took over, now you got all this culture about chasing the ops and doing all this type of stuff. And so now, instead of, just being worried about hustling and making money, and talking about how fly you are, now it's cool to just brag about running down on dudes and taking them out. You know what I'm saying? And putting that in your songs and all that type of stuff. So now you got younger dudes walking around looking for ops. They're looking for niggas to take down to brag about. This is their thing. And they're going body for body. Dudes is on this block, or down with whatever said, and they're looking for another, group of dudes to 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 take out and make a name for themselves and make music about. And that's what we're on now. For the last, you know, 10 years, or say since the Obama years. Now it's like you gotta go out here and brag about uh, all the stuff that you're doing. The chaos you're causing to your ops, and how they can't come outside because you out here taking them out. So I guess now they got to come up with a name for these dudes, because you don't have no hustlers no more in the streets like that. You got a bunch of they say you got a bunch of young niggas. That's what they call them now. You know what I'm saying? Running around looking for the ops. You know what I'm saying? Smoking weed right outside the weed store. You know what I'm saying? Walking around with the same dingy tech fleece and the dirty Air Forces, and you know uh, the high ass fucking platform sneakers and all that other shit they be wearing. Um, that's what you got out here. That's what we got out here now. That's what the streets are. You know, and also this is to me, this all this YN stuff comes from upbringing. I feel like the you know the people that's coming up now, they're not growing up, knowing how to hustle and grind and all that. They're just like, they just want to put on some designer clothes, and they want to go out and you know um, you know sell pills and scam online and stuff like that. Everybody wants to hit a quick lick, and then people want to talk shit on social media. That's what it is now. That's what people want to do. They want to talk shit on social media. They want to seem bigger than anything, and that's where things are now. A lot of street culture is now tied in with online stuff, online flexing, and people are getting killed over it. People are getting killed over talking shit online and going back and forth with other people, and not realizing that you know it can get fatal. You can be a casualty of talking shit about some shit that went down online. You make a post talking about all these dudes is broke and you got all this money, and you know what I'm saying, they're not really doing all this, and next thing you know, they're coming down after you, and they coming after you with whatever crazy fucking weaponry they got. They're coming at you with AKs. They're coming at you with Uzis. They're coming at you with everything, man. They're coming at you with, what do you call them shits? They coming at you with uh, the drums. They're coming at you with guns with drums on them. Yeah, these dudes is out here. You know what I'm saying? Chasing the fix of taking somebody out, so they can put it on social media and brag about it, which is the dumbest thing ever, of course, because it's like, now you're going to jail, I guess, forever, for a long time. You're going to jail, and, and now you gotta go through all that in jail. You gotta go through, being in jail, and having to put up with all the shit inside of there because you wanted to get some quick fame over uh, some beef, some beef that probably came from online, and that's where we at with it. That's where the culture's at, you know, and that's why everything's so dysfunctional. This isn't realistic. You can't hold this up. You can't really do nothing with all this, and so yeah, But now everybody's slurping these YNs online, thinking this is like, they're like, they're running something, or they're doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not doing nothing. You know, people thinking King Von is something to look up to, or you know, whatever about it, whoever, like all these other dudes, somebody to look up to, and that's why everything is so damn degenerate now. We're looking up to mass murderers and shit like that. Once upon a time, people looked up to people in the streets, and they weren't like good dudes, but at least you could like understand and get it. Like, you understood that somebody like Frank Lucas was making a lot of money and running things. Like, he had his block, he had his shit. Like, he had people working for him, and they were making hella money. They were making moves, you know. was one of the guys on top. You had, you know, uh, Nicky Barnes. You had all these different types of dudes that was out here making big moves. These YNs ain't making no big moves. Like, come on now. They're out here just shooting, just, taking motherfuckers out of a bullshit. And, it's not gonna get them anywhere really. You're not gonna make no crazy money doing all this shit. And it's not gonna help the culture, taking people out. You heard other people uh music and stuff like that. And the quality of music is also bad because all motherfuckers want to do is just yell on records and talk about, you know, this one got shot, this one got shot here, this one got taken out here, and it's like, bro, this is not what rap is about. And I'm surprised no older uh, rappers or whatever are talking about it, because this isn't just like regular, beef and all that. It's like it's constant stirring up the pot and creating a, death. It's a constant death cycle to create music. Dudes are getting sacrificed out here for this music bullshit. And that ain't it, man. So yeah, all this YN stuff and, slurping them and all that is bullshit, man. This stuff is whack. If you're a younger dude and you think that this, because people are hyping it up, that this is something cool, it is not cool. It's whack. Don't listen to these motherfuckers. Don't go out here crashing out, because motherfuckers is making it, hyping it up and making it seem cool. There will be consequences. Don't let, social media have you thinking there's no consequences. There will be consequences. You'll have to be, locked up somewhere bad from your consequences, or you could be, you could get smoked because of your consequences. You could be, 6 feet under because of your consequences. You could be paralyzed because of your consequences. You could be beaten to a pulp because of your consequences. You could get kidnapped because of your consequences. People around you could die because of your consequences. So much, like, there's so much shit that you're not even thinking about that can come from your consequences. And you gotta realize that, you know what I'm saying? Before you crash out over some IG shit. Or you crash out because you wanna, get some quick fame to some bozos online. Um, yeah, it's not it. It's an illusion. It's a dead cycle. It's a trap. And you're just feeding the prison system, the industrial complex. You're just feeding this system, and you're not giving anything to yourself for real. Whatever you think you're getting, uh, you're just giving more to random uh, accounts of people online. Like, you got all these people like that talk about street beefs online, and they get all types of views by posting about uh, people that are getting caught up in the street beefs in different cities across the country. You know what I'm saying? And you're giving money to the people like academics and them. You know what I'm saying? People who ain't got no ties to the streets. You're out here doing all this, proving yourself to people like that. You know what I'm saying? You're proving yourself to DJ Vlads. You got dudes out here going out here, trying to prove themselves and go on interviews and talk about all the crazy stuff they did to prove it to motherfuckers, that's sitting somewhere comfortable at the end of the day. And the stuff you're doing is going to put you somewhere, a room the size of a closet, at the end of the day. So yeah, and also, you got to realize that, um, you got to resist the peer pressure. Especially if you're younger, you might have some peers that got, make it seem like, you got to do all these types of things and all that to fit in. and it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's just my take on it. This buy-in obsession. You know what I'm saying? Just to let any younger dude know out there, if you think that this is it, or you're feeling like, man, like maybe I got to go out here and I got to crash out and show people that I'm on that type of time. You're on demon time or whatever. They're calling it. Just letting you know, like, hey, it's not really worth it. Everyone's hyping you up to go out here and fuck your life up. That's all they're doing. And at first you might be hyped up and and doing stupid shit and thinking it's really doing you're really doing something, and you're gonna be like 4K, or what's the dude's name? TK. I said 4K. TK. You're gonna be like him, realizing years later that all this shit was not it. All this shit is not it. Like, you're gonna be in jail by yourself every day. You're gonna have to fight off different motherfuckers who want to prove themselves to try to hurt you to get something. Try to get some clout. You got to deal with all this type of shit, and it's not it. You don't want to be in jail and taking a shit on some cold toilet, man, that you might have to share. I don't know if you might have to share with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You gotta carry some homemade knife or some prison made weapons on you or whatever. Like, that's not what you want to do, man. So stay right. Work hard. If you gotta work, and it's better off to just be working legitimate. You know what I'm saying? Do what you gotta do the right way. Don't brag about doing stupid shit. Anybody you have to who you have to do backup flips for, and all this type of stuff for, they're not even worth it. So you gotta stop. Just stop, leave that shit behind, and be right. You know what I'm saying? Get right, live right, and and everything should fall in place when you live that way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's all I got.